What's up YouTube? So today I want to show you a really simple but cool trick for creating what I call asymmetrical pitch bend. So some plugins have this natively built in where you can have a different value for the pitch shifting upwards and pitch shifting downwards. Some plugins like Vital and Faceplant don't have it built in. However, there's a really cool technique that you can use to change it. So without further ado, let's dive in and have a look. So I'm going to quickly open up Serum to show you what I'm talking about, to give you a quick example. So if you have a look at the bottom left here, you'll see that there's two numbers, a -2 and a +2. So these numbers basically determine how much pitch bend the up range has and how much pitch bend the down range has. So generally speaking, I like to use the combination of +1 and -2. So this is very usable for genres like psytrance, where you have slightly more kind of world or Eastern twist to your melodies. And I find just generally it's a little bit easier to play. The reason is -2 and +2, if you look at the root note, like C for example, and we move down -2, we're now in a minor key. And if we move +2, we're now in a major key. So having a pitch bend, which is kind of determined by a single value, often makes it a bit harder to play, because you have to remember some keys you can only shift upwards, some keys you can only shift downwards, and sometimes you have to kind of like listen by ear, which is a little bit confusing. So I find just setting it to particular values like +1 and -2, or values that you know work in the scale, can make things a little bit easier. So let's have a listen to the kind of example of this interval that I'm talking about. So I'm not a keyboard player, as you can probably hear. So I kind of rely on these little tricks that allow me to make the most of playing when I don't kind of know too much about the physical nature of playing itself. So here, what I want to do is I want to set, open up a preset that I already have of like a plucky sound, and we're going to set it up like I was explaining. Okay, so anyway, let me show you how to set this up in both Faceplant and Vital. So they're both going to use a very similar technique using mod remaps, but they're set up slightly differently. So let's just create a very simple patch here in Faceplant. I'm going to put in a curve, attach this to the filter, and create a bit of a plucky sound. Okay, so in Faceplant, how we would set this up is we would use this bend range parameter here, but we would actually split up the modulation coming into it into two. Unfortunately, in Faceplant, you can't actually set the bend range to 0. You're limited to a lowest value of 1. However, what we can do with this is that we can use the 1 as the upward value and just add an extra 1 semitones to the downward sweep. So let's say, for example, add in this pitch wheel modulator over here, and let's add in 2 remaps. So if we set the output of the pitch wheel into these remaps, and you'll see here when we actually modulate the pitch on our MIDI controller, it's mapped out on these remaps. So what we want to do is we want to actually set it up so that 1 doesn't have any values in the top quadrant or top half, and the other one doesn't have any values in the bottom half. And by simply setting up a shape like this, you can right click to change the curve if you want, on and off. And so now you'll notice if we change the pitch, it's going to move this one up while this one stays in the center. And as we go below 0, this one goes down while this one stays in the center. So we can deduce here that we've essentially split up that pitch bend into two separate values, one below the 0 and one above the 0. So now what we can do is we can actually set up the below 0 to modulate the master pitch by an extra 1 semitones. And so now we've set up the +1 -2 system in phase plant. So this technique is very cool for creating almost theremin-like sounds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of the plucky tone, create more of an attack. Because with a theremin, you've got that kind of continuous pitch sound. So like you're finding the pitch with your one hand. So it's never going to kind of be on. So this is really cool to be able to flow between notes, but always land on a note that you know is going to be in the scale. Yo, that sounds sweet. Okay, so what I want to do here is we can set up the mod wheel to do just a little bit of vibrato on the pitch. So let's assign this mod wheel to this amount over here, but just a little bit, Let's see. Okay, that might just be a bit too much. And then let's assign this to the pitch over here. Oh, that's really, really nice. I'm actually going to save this. So if you're a $5 or more patron, you will get this preset. Okay, let me show you quickly how to set it up in Vital. So in Vital, it's essentially the same thing. However, here we can actually set the bend range to 0. So this is actually going to be easier to set up in the matrix over here. If we set up pitch wheel, we can set the destination to global. So if we set up a value here, for example, of like 1, and then we do it again, pitch wheel, voice transpose, global voice transpose. And then here we set up a value of -2, but we do a similar thing with the voice remaps here. with the remaps. In fact, here it must be 2, not -2. And then we do bipolar modulation, but then we want it so that we're setting up a similar shape here. So this one is only going to be positive, and then this one is only going to be negative. Awesome. That's about it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to be uploading this phase plant preset to my Patreon for all my $5 supporters. So if you want to know what that's all about, check out the link in the description. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.